Are you ready for National Black Girl Month? April is National Black Girl Month, and this year, we're centering Black motherhood. National Black Girl Month is a call to celebrate, invest, and champion Black women and girls. Join the movement and spread the spark. Visit nationalblackgirlmonth.com. Welcome to Impact Innovators with Felicia Ford, where we dive into the strategies that empower changemaker brands to leave a lasting legacy. Think of this podcast as your audio playbook for meaningful action. What's possible when thought leaders, disruptors, and pioneers align to share their journeys? I'm Felicia Ford, your host, bringing together the brightest minds and the most groundbreaking ideas to help you drive change, navigate through the sticky stuff, and elevate your brand. Whether you're tackling funding hurdles, looking for growth strategies, or seeking the perfect balance between profit and purpose, we've got you covered. Hi, friends. Hey, Black girl. In the words of Dr. Rikesha, hello, changemakers. Welcome back to another special episode of Impact Innovators with Felicia Ford, with my co-host today, Dr. Rikesha Fry Brown, and we have an incredible guest. They say it takes a village, but villages don't build themselves. Black mothers have always done more than raise their own children. They've created networks of care, led when leadership was lacking, and organized to make sure their families and communities had what they needed. This isn't new. We know this, but the ways that we do it continue to evolve. Jetaun Woodley understands that firsthand. Award winning public relations and brand strategist, Jatan has spent 2 decades shaping communications and community initiatives that make a difference. From her early career in healthcare and nonprofit work to her current role as Senior Director of Brand Strategy and Projects at Planned Parenthood, she has used her expertise to ensure that critical messages reach the right people. But beyond her career, her impact is personal. After becoming a mother, Jatan saw the need for a space where Black women could share advice, encouragement, and resources. She founded HU Mommies Group, a support network for Hampton University alumni navigating motherhood. What started as a way to connect has grown into a community of over 800 mothers, leading everything from volunteer efforts and student support to disaster relief and mentorship. In this special National Black Girl Month episode, Dr. Rikesha Fry Brown and I are sitting down with Jatan to talk about how Black mothers build community, not just within their families, but through organizing, advocacy, and creating spaces where they and their children can thrive. Welcome, Jatan.
Thank you. I need to put that in a file so when I'm going for roles or promotions, I can just let me play something for you here.
Yeah,
So that was beautiful. It doesn't always feel that way, but that was amazing. So thank you.
you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome to add this asset to your speaker reel.
Exactly. So as your bio stated, you started your career in public relations, working in healthcare and nonprofit. But after becoming a mother, you built a space that I have benefited from greatly and I'm thankful for Black mothers. Can you tell us about how we got to HU Mommies? Yeah, so it's a couple things. First, let me say that Facebook groups are not a novel idea. So there are, plenty of groups that I was, a part of, I dipped into. I had new mom jitters. I had new mom anxiety. I had new mom questions. I had experiences that felt at first that I was the only one experiencing them until I started to understand through other interactions and other groups that you're not alone in what you're experiencing as a new mom, be it pregnancy, be it delivery, be it adoption, whatever it is, however motherhood looks like for you, you're not alone in that. So through those kind of conversations and spaces, I was like, Hamptonians deserve this, where there is a mutual connection and understanding, which also creates a new level of trust, right? If I know that we have a shared experience, our love of Hampton, we may have stayed in the same, dorm together or we know each other, I'm probably a little more inclined to share my vulnerabilities with you because we have some sort of mutual connection. And I wanted that for my Hampton sisters. So that's kind of the key thing that encouraged me to create the group. And I needed that constant support and that constant community to navigate motherhood for the very first time.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that as you were sharing your story about how you started, I'm wondering when was that moment for you when you realized this is something that other people may want or need? Because we've shared the story about National Black Girl Month and how it started, and it was we didn't plan this. We
Yeah.
didn't plan it at all. It was just like, "Oh, this is great. This is fantastic. What's the next step?" And the next step was there has to be more people. So what was that moment like for you to realize that HU Mommies was more than just a community, but a movement?
Um, I think the first time I recognized it is when we had an idea to do something as a collective outside of talking about postpartum recovery, changing diapers, whether or not our partners help, day in and day out. I think the first time we said, should we celebrate ourselves together? Should we get together? Should we give back as a collective? And it's funny, my husband used to always joke. He's like, "They like so many women love this group. Like they'll do whatever you whatever you ask." And I was like, "No, like we connect and we have a good time, but asking above and beyond that is like a totally kind of different experience and space for us." Um, but when we celebrated Mama May, which was really built out of Mother's Day is nice, but sometimes it ends up being an obligation to your family kind of being locked into however it is they want to celebrate you. And we want to celebrate ourselves and we want to celebrate our community. Like, are you guys interested in it? And everyone's like, yes, let's do it. Let's get matching shirts. Let's post photos. And like one thing that is just kind of like a little like twinkle of an idea just really turned into a spark. So I was like, okay, like this is not just community as mothers, but this is community as like a movement and a fort in a way to celebrate ourselves. So I think that's probably the first time I noticed like, okay, this is bigger than I thought.
Yeah. Catching on, the spreading. Do you have a motto or anything for HU Mommies?
I don't. I mean, when we have a new person who joins the group, I always just say, like, this is a safe space and nothing is TMI. And I think nothing is TMI is very important for mothers because it's in that stuff that doesn't feel good to say out loud that
Mhm.
you'll find connection and community. Like, okay, we're all talking about the best bottle to buy. We're all talking about, staying up at night. But like, did you have to have an episiotomy? Like that
Okay.
feel like have your I don't know what the rating is on this podcast, but like
Right
have you been
ahead.
from here to here? Does anybody want to talk about that? Like, does anybody have new moles? Like, I need to know that I'm not alone in like those things.
Right,
Not like what's the best bottle?
right,
It's more than that.
right,
Um,
right.
yeah.
Well, I thank you for sharing that because we have had a theme, I would say the last 7, 8 months, 9 months of really getting to the core of Black culture, Black community, vulnerability, bringing those topics. We'll talk about everything, okay? People have come on and talked about the role of religion and God in their work. Some people have come on and dropped all the words that a sailor would use, and it's okay. This too is a safe space. It's also a safe space, but we on our 50th episode talked about the truth, the conflict, and the chore, and sometimes even the negative parts of what we learn from being in community with others and what it takes to be in collaboration and what it takes to talk through conflict or to lead through conflict, and then go back to work or go back home and be in relationship with that person. So I love that you are describing how this space specifically for mothers exists and in this way, because and we've shared on some other episodes about sometimes somebody just needs to see someone else modeling the
Mhm.
thing
Yep.
to then feel like, okay, she's meeting me in my humanity and I'm not a weirdo or I'm not the only person doing this. So now I can call my doctor and ask questions, because I talked to my friends first about it. And meanwhile, they've been Googling all the things. So now there's some way to connect and relate. So I
Yeah.
love that.
And you had asked earlier, like, was there like a motto or anything that I had for the group? It was, I'm always welcoming people, no TMI, but then I think about my experience as a first time mother. And while I was fortunate enough for everything to go really well by the book, no problems, um, I want, I wish that I was more than just a vessel. I wish that I was an advocate for myself.
Mhm.
And I think that that's what I hope for moms in the group to be advocates for their mother experience, for their birthing experience, for their adoption experience, for whatever it is, like advocating for yourself and being knowledgeable and feeling confident in asking questions, feeling confident in asking for what you need in
Mhm.
your motherhood experience. I think we let what we read on Google and what our, parents maybe did or didn't tell us about, parenting or motherhood or what our physician, may say kind of dictate because it's a first time experience for us. So we're like, oh, I don't know. I hope it all works out. But like there's a different posture that especially Black mothers, and we talk about Black maternal health and mortality rate, things like that. There's a different posture that I want for every mother. I want them to feel confident to speak up, ask questions, say things, confidently ask for the things that they need to have the best experience possible. So if I had to answer that question again, I would add that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you.
So, Black mothers have always been at the center of social change, and whether it's through organizing, mentoring, or leading in our communities, what are some of the things that you have seen? Some of the biggest ways that you've seen Black mothers show up, specifically in the group and outside of. Um, in the group, it always warms my heart when a mother is obviously feeling very lost in an experience and people show up for her and wrap their arms around her as much as they can, from a distance, saying like, I see you, it'll be fine. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? There are moms who will send messages on the side to strangers that they don't know just to, check in, to follow up. We have so many posts in the group and so many women. Someone might just say, hey, I remember there was a mom that talked about this, 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 and this. I'm curious, like, how is she doing?
Mhm.
There are topics that are brought up that are just kind of like culture references or political climate references. And moms want to know how other moms are dealing with it. They want to know how they're handling certain things. We've had conversations about what it is to want the best education experience for your child, but that might be being in a predominantly white space. And like, how do you navigate that? Or shifts in access to certain resources and like how do you navigate that? So I just really appreciate the support that exists in the everyday conversations. Um, outside of it, just like thinking about my work and what I do for um a healthcare, nonprofit. I mean, Black women, Black mothers are on the front line of um, justice movements, reproductive, you know, fight, whatever that might be. They are on the front lines, so they're advocating for others, but also advocating for themselves and the futures that they want to have for their babies and other people's babies and the world that they want to have. And that's not just how I feel. Like that's what the research shows, right? Is
Right.
that
Right.
we are constantly, advocating and supporting, one another, and I think much of that is reflected in the group. Um, I think in 2017 or 2019 or something like that, there was, like, a terrible hurricane that went through Houston, and we got together and we raised money, and we wanted to focus on any sort of nonprofit that supported, like, women and babies. And people gave dollars when they didn't, have to. And it wasn't just like, oh, we were able to scrape up $150. Like we raised hundreds of dollars.
Right.
And people didn't have to do that. They could have just like read from the sidelines and just, walked away, but they recognized like the force that we are as a collective. I think moms are proud of that. So they're proud to like then go outside of the group and say like this is what we did as HU Mommies group to support, other people. So yeah.
I love that you weave in number one, here's the problem, here's how we are approaching it, and then this is what we actually did. We're not just talking the talk. But you've done work in many different spaces, maternal health, education, community advocacy, and you just shared with us some of the challenges that mothers are facing. And we've talked a lot about this in several of our conversations about allowing ourselves permission to acknowledge some things. But for those who are facing some of the challenges in these spaces, what can they do by themselves if they're not a part of the HU Mommy group? How can they find community and kind of shift where they are?
I mean, if they're not an HU Mommies and they're a custodial graduate, they should be. So just kidding. Oh, I mean, I know it can be. Yeah. I consider myself an extrovert. So I in a communicator by trade, by nature. So I think it's, trying to recognize that everyone doesn't show up the way that I do. I do think at the very least, you have to be able to be bold enough to step out and connect with at least one person.
Mhm.
And also not shy away if that first interaction does not work the way you wanted it to.
Mhm.
Uh, one of the struggles I had when I had my son was that I had no idea how difficult breastfeeding could be. I didn't even think about it. Like I was each week like, "Oh, baby is the size of an eggplant, the baby is the size of this and that," and like just kind of preparing and saving, but not even really thinking about that. So that was very difficult for me. I think it contributed to a lot of how I felt emotionally after. And I remember, hopping into a group and kind of just it wasn't HU Mommies at this time. It was just kind of like this larger um breastfeeding group, one of many that exist out in the world, and kind of posting and not met with helpful responses or supportive response. It was like a sea of attacks on the conflict that sometimes exists between like formula feeding and breast. It was an attack on them. It wasn't an attack on me, but that was not helpful. And in that moment, I felt very defeated, but I appreciate that I was willing to find additional community or find someone or something that I could connect with to feel better about my experience or to help me through my experience. So I think you have to be bold enough to find one person
Mhm.
that you can connect with, even if you find a group that's helpful. I mean, there are some moms in the group who don't say a word, but don't you dare not talk about something or don't you dare decide to, put a pause on the group because they're like, no, like this is super helpful for me. I read all the posts, like you have no idea. So just maybe trying to find a space as much as possible and thinking about how you feel when you do engage or when you do see that engagement. Does that make you feel good? Does that kind of ease the worry that you might have, or is it causing you to feel more anxious? And if it's causing you to feel more anxious, like be bold enough to just step away from it. But I think it helps to just find one little touch point
Right.
be helpful. And that might just be it for you. It might be that one person, those 3 people, or, for many of us in the group, it's like dozens and dozens of, people who you can, tap into.
You've described how you've created this community, but the number one thing that you said that is really simple but impactful because giving yourself permission to be bold and to step out and to ask or to inquire or to even invite someone else. It's a big thing to invite people into a space of something that you've created in hopes that it will help them. And so that message I think would be for both those who are seeking community and those who are leading community. as I'm as I'm looking at, hey, cattle. As you're leaving community too, the people who need you will find you, and the people who you need, you eventually will find. But taking that step is a big way to propel forward faster. So I thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And then even for people who are looking to build community, I mean, there are going to be moments where it's not a good fit for someone who attempts to join. I mean, we have had moments where in a sea of 800, over 800 women, everyone feels that one person who is just maybe not a good fit. And for someone like me who also can be sensitive, I really struggled with that in the beginning of like everyone not being like liked or accepted or, just not being okay with the dynamic that someone is bringing into the group. Now
Mhm.
we that is not to be confused with having a difference of opinion
Right.
because we are not a monolith and we have had like very like vastly different viewpoints on one particular topic in the group, but just there will be people that could potentially join your community that make people feel unsettled.
Mhm.
And you also have to be okay with protecting your community
Right.
and saying, like, this person ain't it. I hope they find the community that works for them.
Mhm.
But we as a collective here feel a little unsettled, and I think
Right.
sometimes that can be uncomfortable because we want to include everybody. Everybody should be, welcomed. And that is true. But if this is a group that's supposed to be of support, but also recognizing different perspectives and someone is entering and it feels problematic
Mhm.
for many, and always do a gut check, right? Because it could just be you, but like if it feels problematic or unsettling, then it could be that's not the space for that person.
Right.
The one next door might be, and that's okay. Yeah.
Right. Right.
So I want you to give us your answer from both hats, from your professional work as well as the creator of the group. When I asked the question, when we
Okay.
think about Black motherhood and the way that it is framed or depicted in the media, oftentimes from a lens of struggle as opposed to a lens of strength, and we are set at a time when it is going to be important for us to dictate our own narratives. How do we shift the narrative within our community and then the narrative that is seen on the outside of our community about Black motherhood in its beautiful parts, the parts that maybe are not shown in the media, but to deflect from that negativity? So that's a really good question. This is what happens. We have friends with PhDs. They have questions that are so dynamic. um, I think as a ugh, in to tell me if I'm not answering the question, or I'm happy to pivot. There is a part of me wearing like the the mom of the two hat and the work hat that people are gonna have perceptions either way.
Mhm.
And there's part of me that based on my experience in my current job, um, it's more about protecting yourself, and advocating the way you want to and leaning into your community
Mhm.
than to be overly concerned about external perceptions. Because I think that they're going to exist no matter what. I think you speak up, when you want to, but don't let it consume you because people are just gonna think what they're gonna think. Um, so I don't know if that's necessarily like the best answer for this conversation, but um self-care and leaning into community to me matters more than shifting a perception, that people have because progress can also be made through community, right? Like when I even think about the mere example of the group, there are some moms who are like, "Oh, I hate I hate mom groups." You know, "Oh, they're just so catty and oh, they're" but there's a large percentage of moms that I can point to you that will feel differently and they can say, HU Mommies group did this for me, or that breastfeeding group did that for me, or that. So, no, it's not like I've made friends. Like, there are people who I did not know at Hampton at all. And like, they are my friends now. Like, so I think it's the same thing, you know, when I think about the work side of things. It's like you can still create progress in those safe spaces. You can where people actually see you, right? That's where the progress is. Like when we think about the LGBTQ, advocacy and rights movement, like those things start from community. When you think about civil rights, those movements start with community. It's not trying to shout from the rooftops that we are this, not that. It's community that creates the progress. It's knowing who you are, standing steadfast in that, and making a movement with people who understand that with you as well to like make progress. Because other people aren't going to change their minds about who you are and what they think you deserve, but fight with the people that see you for who you are and want the best, for you. And I don't know if that answers the question, but
That's excellent, and actually, it was almost a gut punch for me because I think that as soon as you started answering, I was like, "Yeah, we spend so much time trying to get other people to see us a certain way, and we really could just focus our energy on making sure that everyone in our community sees the value and benefit and joy and glory and all the great things in our community. And that will then be shown. And if they see it out there, they see it. If they don't, they don't. But our community is healthy. Our community is strong. Our community has its own level of self value and self worth. And so I love the answer. I thought it was great.
and the
Yeah.
people who need to see it for whatever reason, be it progress, be it validation, be it a shift in their perspective, they'll see it. And there are people you can tap dance all day and try to put down who you are. They do
And
not
every
care,
time.
right? Like
Right.
Yeah,
my mind is made up.
Right.
So yeah.
Oh,
I love that.
yeah, I do too. Your work, you just gave us examples of how your work is impacting the mothers that are there, the people that are not necessarily in the group, but the community initiatives that you've all have taken on. What legacy and what additional impact do you hope that your work, both in your career and HU Mommies, will have on the world?
Um, on the world, wow. Uh, I mean, for HU mommies, I really just hope that um, Hamptonians feel more empowered. I think that it was because of the group that the experience that I had with my first child was vastly different from the experience that I had with my second child. Like I was no longer a vessel. I was an advocate. You know, I made sure I had a doula, someone in the room with me who could support me. She missed it. That's because my child came faster than we anticipated, but that's not the point. Um, it was the fact that like I felt more empowered from, conversation. Um, I felt more prepared to breastfeed. So it wasn't just a couple of months, it was 18 months, because I had
people who, you know, were very much so like, "Look, if we need to get on video and you need to pull up your shirt and show me what you're doing, I will be there for you." I have, a friend, and we've become very close as a result of the group. Like, when I would message her at thank God she's a night person. When I would message her at, like, 2 o'clock in the morning, she was responding. Like, people who have that community to help them thrive, who like, it changed motherhood for them, be it personally with making friends, be it having more knowledge about, um, what it takes to be able to do things, to have more perspective, to have more understanding, to have more courage to seek help in their partners, because that's another thing too. Is like, we have this kind of running joke, but it's very serious called He Can Do It, Mo, which is all about encouraging mothers to set expectations for having an accountable, fully capable partner. So it's just like shifting from just experiencing things to like taking charge of those things and also caring for yourself in the process. Um, for work, uh, it's a really interesting time to be asking that question because work can be very exhausting right now. I think a lot of like advocacy work it doesn't matter what you're fighting for.
Right.
So that can be really exhausting. But my hope when I think about the people that my organization serves, or I even think about my children who are very young, I want people to have the access and care that they deserve, regardless of what that might be for them,
Right.
uh, regardless of how people feel about, you know, who they are and what they do with their, lives. I don't want people to lack access to resources and the care that they deserve because someone else chooses to make an indictment on how they live their lives. I want to have freedom
Right.
and access to whatever it is they choose so that they can take care of themselves in the best way, possible. Living is hard enough, right?
Right. Right.
Want to be able to get good health care. And you don't want that for me because of who I am. I would like that to shift. So it can be exhausting, but I'm fortunate enough to be passionate about what I do. I'm fortunate enough to have a great team who they advocate obviously naturally in our work, but also to take care of ourselves in the process because it can be a lot. But I just want people to get free, right? Like in motherhood, in their lives,
Right.
no matter what that looks like.
Right. Uh, I think that's super encouraging and powerful for those who might be on that edge of, am I doing enough? Am I showing up? Am I intentional about this and what it means? Am I showing up for my sister? Am I showing up for myself? So I appreciate again you sharing that. Dr. Keisha, is there anything else that you would like to address with Jatan today?
I just want to say thank you so much for being here. This has
Oh,
been a great, powerful conversation just about the ways in which Black women and Black mothers are raising up children and raising up communities and the importance of those communities. As I said before, and I will sing from the rooftops, I've been a benefactor of HU Mommies community. And that was actually my first online community. I had never been a part of a community in that space before. And the value that I've gotten from it in the group, and then the work that we've done outside of the group as a result of the group has just been so powerful on my life. And so your work is a reminder what happens when we come together, when we support each other, and when we work together to take action. So thank you. I want to give you your flowers publicly and just say thank you for what you've done and thank you for what you've shared here with us today. I'm just so happy that you were here with us today.
well, thank you. And I want to thank you for being a part of the group. You've added tremendous value. I know sometimes it can feel overwhelming. But you've added such great value to the group as well. And that's what we want, right? We want people to be able to like give and receive in this space. And I appreciate this. This actually re-energizes me when I think about the group. As our children get older, sometimes we probably are not, as engaged, but, motherhood is still a thing that we will experience until we are no more. It's not like, oh, 21. It's like we will forever be parents. So this conversation has also encouraged me to think about like, what is the next step for the group? And even if it's not about them kids, how us,
Right.
you know, I appreciate that. And thank you so much for having me. I am excited about what you guys are doing. Work mind is like, yes, because Black women this and Black women that, and like Black girls this and 5 times this, that. And I have all these things in my head that say this is a wonderful thing. And I hope that it just continues to soar. So I'm excited for you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We're looking forward to it.
We are. This is just the beginning. National Black Girl Month is about celebration, yes, and it's also about connection, leadership, community, and making sure that the work that we do is building something that will be able to pass on to the generations that come after us. So, to every Black mother listening, your presence, your leadership, your care, know that they are shaping the future more than you know. If you would like to connect with us, please visit nationalblackgirlmonth.com where you can access your National Black Girl Month toolkit for adults. It's for us. Okay. It's full of activities, full of resources. We'll be sure to list some of the, if you're a Hamptonian, we'll be sure you can connect with Jetaun and HU Mommy. Thank you. Thank you all. The best leaders know that strategy happens in real time, in the right room, with the right people. That's why I created Momentum Lab, where creators and changemakers meet weekly to break down challenges, refine their strategies, and move forward with momentum. If you're ready to sharpen your next move, join us at lab.feliciafordandco.com. Hey, Changemaker, real quick before you go, if today's episode helped you in some way, the best way to thank me is to head over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the channel, and leave a review. I'd also love to connect with you over on social. You can find me at Friends Call Me Fee. Until next time, keep changing the game.